A single American soldier had been separated from his unit hours earlier. No radio, no backup. Just a rifle, a knife, and the shadows of the trees around him. He was Navajo. As the German patrol advanced, the forest suddenly went quiet. Too quiet. No insects, no wind. Even the rain seemed to pause. Then it happened. A sharp, piercing cry cut through the darkness. It didn't sound human. It echoed from one side of the forest, then another, then behind them. The Germans froze. One soldier whispered, Was ist das? Another swore he heard multiple voices, overlapping, circling them. The sound rose and fell, rhythmic, controlled, like a signal, like a hunt. More cries followed, louder now, closer. Boots shuffled, rifles were raised. Flashlights snapped on, sweeping wildly through the trees, but saw nothing. No movement, no figures, just darkness. Someone shouted, "They're surrounding us!" The officer tried to regain control. "Hold your positions! It's just one man!" But his voice shook, because deep down, even he wasn't sure. The cries came again, right behind them this time. And that's when panic truly began. The German patrol tightened into a defensive circle. Flashlights cut through the fog, bouncing wildly from tree to tree. Every shadow looked like a soldier. Every branch snap sounded like a step. Then the cries returned. Not from one place, from three. Left, right, behind. The sounds were never the same twice, sometimes long and sharp, sometimes low and rolling. They echoed, overlapped, vanished, then came back closer. One German soldier dropped to a knee, heart racing. "They're signaling each other," he whispered. "This is an ambush." The officer barked orders, but his men were already turning in circles, unable to tell where the enemy was. The forest had swallowed their sense of direction. Then, movement. A dark figure flashed between two trees, too fast to track, gone before a rifle could be raised. Someone fired a single shot into the fog. Nothing answered back. No gunfire, no shouting, only silence. That was worse. The cries came again, this time so close it felt like the sound came from inside their heads. One soldier clutched his helmet, another backed away, stumbling into a tree. "They're everywhere!" someone shouted. "We're surrounded!" The officer hesitated. He had counted his men earlier. 52. Now, facing an enemy he couldn't see, couldn't count, couldn't understand. For the first time that night, the thought crossed his mind. What if it really isn't just one man? The officer raised his hand, signaling silence. No one spoke. No one breathed. Only the forest answered. A low cry rolled through the trees, deeper now, slower, echoing in a way that made it impossible to tell how far away it was. Then another followed from the opposite direction. Then a third. The Germans spun around, rifles shaking. One soldier fired into the darkness. Another joined him. The shots were wild, desperate, uncontrolled. Still, no return fire. That terrified them more than bullets ever could. The fog thickened, swallowing the muzzle flashes almost instantly. The trees seemed closer now, pressing in, closing every escape route. Then a voice, clear and sudden, shouted something unfamiliar. Not German, not English. The words carried through the forest like a command. Several soldiers froze. "What language is that?" someone asked, barely able to speak. Before the officer could answer, the cries returned. Stronger, sharper, surrounding them completely. It no longer sounded like signals. It sounded like a warning. One man dropped his rifle. Another backed away, hands raised without realizing it. A third tore off his helmet, convinced the sound was coming from inside his head. The officer looked around at his unit. 52 men, and not one of them knew where the enemy was, or how many there were. That's when he made the decision he had sworn he would never make. The officer swallowed hard. His training told him to push forward. His instincts told him to retreat, but the forest gave him no direction, only pressure. Another cry tore through the fog, closer than ever. It echoed sharply, then cut off mid-sound as if someone had given a signal to stop. Silence fell. Not a single branch moved. Not a single shot followed. Then a calm voice spoke from the darkness. Not shouting, not threatening. Calm. "You are surrounded." The words were clear, controlled, impossible to trace. The officer's grip tightened on his pistol. He scanned the trees, the fog, the shadows. Nothing. No figures, no movement. Just presence. Another voice followed. Same tone, different direction. "There is no escape." A few soldiers slowly lowered their rifles without realizing it. One man whispered a prayer. Another stared straight ahead, frozen, convinced he was already being watched. The officer hesitated only a second longer. He had 52 men, but he had no enemy he could see, and no way to fight sound itself. Finally, he raised his arm. "Lower your weapons," he ordered quietly. Metal clinked against wet ground. Rifles, helmets, gear. The forest remained silent. Somewhere in the trees, a single man listened, waiting to see if fear had truly won. Minutes passed. No one moved. The German soldiers stood frozen, eyes locked on the trees, waiting for the moment the invisible enemy would reveal itself. Sweat mixed with rain beneath their helmets. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Not rushing, not hiding. The sound came from straight ahead. Branches parted. A single figure stepped forward from the fog. Just one man. An American soldier, mud-stained, calm, rifle lowered, but ready. His eyes moved across the group, counting them, measuring their fear. Whispers spread instantly. "Only one? That's impossible." The officer stared, confused and shaken. "You were alone?" he asked. The American said nothing. He took another step forward. From deeper in the forest, a final cry echoed. Short, sharp, unmistakable. The German soldiers flinched, some instinctively reaching for weapons they had already dropped. The American finally spoke, his voice steady. "You did the right thing." The officer realized then what had truly happened. This man hadn't needed an army. He had turned their fear into one. The officer lowered his head. Only now, standing face to face with the American, did the truth fully settle in. There had never been an ambush, never been a hidden unit, never been dozens of soldiers in the trees. Just one man. The Navajo soldier had used the forest like a weapon. He moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough to be tracked. He changed pitch, rhythm, direction. He let the fog carry his voice, let echoes multiply it. When he shouted in his native language, the unfamiliar sounds shattered the Germans' confidence. They couldn't identify commands, couldn't guess numbers, couldn't predict intent. Fear filled the gaps, and fear did the rest. The officer looked at his men. 52 trained soldiers who had surrendered without a single shot being fired. "You made us believe," he said quietly. The American nodded once. Later, when Allied units arrived, they found something almost unbelievable. An entire German patrol, fully armed, standing down peacefully, still shaken by a sound they couldn't explain. The report would describe it as a surrender under psychological pressure. But among the soldiers who were there, it became something else. A story passed in whispers, about a forest that spoke, about a cry that turned night into panic, and about how, for one moment in the war, one man became an army.